assist me, and if as people are coming on board, if you would be so kind as to let them in. I see a few people are sitting out there waiting to get in. If you would do that, please. Thank you. Okay, welcome everyone. This is the Candidates Forum for the 2024-26 campaign. And I wanted to highlight some rules that the nomination committee came up with. This has previously been shared with the candidates in advance. So this is not new to them, but it's new to everyone else. All right, so let's go through that. So in the haste of trying to get everyone on, I forgot to do the electronic coin toss, but we'll facilitate that off screen. I'll just ask a question for one person to call. I'll flip my coin and then I'll tell you who won. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to open. This process will be moderated. There are 4 topics that we're going to cover: leadership experience, NHAA membership growth, fund development, and strategic visioning. Total time that each candidate will have to respond to a particular question is 90 seconds. Candidates will alternate answers between questioning, and then each candidate will have 2 minutes to close when we get to that point. The Zoom video activation is only available for the 2 candidates, the moderator, and the nominating committee. Currently, chat is only available to send comments to the nomination committee. Myself, Lisa Neal Graves, and Audra T. Jones. Keisha Mark will be joining us a little later, so she will be another person that will be on as well. The Candidates Forum will record this, or I should say I will record this, or it's currently being recorded, and it will be provided to the NHA technology team, who will later post it for playback for future viewing. So that covers our introduction. I'll take this off of share. Stop sharing. At this point, I will turn the presentation. Oh, first of all, thank you all for joining, and I will turn the presentation over to Lisa Neal Graves, who will facilitate the process from this point until I come back on.
Great. Thank you so much, and good evening. Thanks everyone for joining, and I am excited that we have 2 candidates this evening. You'll note that we're not having any of the other candidates who are uncontested participate in this particular forum. So this evening we have 2 candidates for Vice President of the Eastern Region, Ms. Kelly D. Bauer and Ms. Patricia A. Perry. We're going to start, and I don't know, Derek, who won the coin toss.
Hold on, I did do it online, so I'm gonna do it right quick here. Apologize. Patricia, I'm gonna let you call the coin toss. I got a little electronic thing going in the background. So Patricia, if you go ahead and call heads or tails, please.
Heads.
All right, I'm spinning. And it is tails. So Kelly, you get to go. Kelly, you get to go first.
We will begin this process with a 3-minute introduction and opening from you, starting with you, Kelly, and then Patricia, you will go second. Kelly, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Hamptonians. My name is Kelly Boyer, and I am your Eastern Region's Vice President for the National Hampton Alumni Association. I'm proud to have been actively involved with the association for over 30 years. My father served as the president of 2 HBCUs while I was growing up, and he instilled in his children the importance of a college education and charged us to be active and engaged alumni from the moment we graduated. I am seeking re-election as Vice President for the Eastern Regions. I've been in this role for almost 2 years, focused on alumni recruitment and chapter development, with a particular emphasis on the latter. During this term, we have prioritized infrastructure, including facilitating training on parliamentary procedures and another on fiscal management. Through leveraging my alumni relationships, we were able to have a prominent Hamptonian within the judicial system conduct a parliamentary workshop, while our national treasurer conducted the fiscal management workshop targeted to our chapter and region fiscal officers. The NHAA comprises 54 chapters and 6 active regions. 4 of these regions are in the East: the Middle Atlantic, North Carolina, and Southeast, which contain 42 of the 54 chapters. Leading such a geographically vast region is challenging, so it's crucial to establish strong relationships with all interested parties, including the chapters, regions, and university officials. As the East VP, I serve as the co-chair of the councils of chapter and regional presidents and am the co-chair of the Time and Place Committee responsible for determining locations for the biennial convention. I have taken the lead in convening the quarterly region presidents roundtable, while the West VP is the lead for the semi-annual Council of Chapter Presidents roundtable. Furthermore, our national president has appointed the East and West VPs as co-chairs for the program committee responsible for planning and executing educational and engaging workshops during the biennial convention. Tonight, I ask your support in re-electing me as the Vice President of the East. With an overhaul of our bylaws and SOP manual, it is crucial to maintain continuity and leadership during this process. Our alumni deserve to have a confident and experienced leader representing them. Therefore, I urge you to consider my proven track record and experience as you make your decision. Thank you for your consideration and support.
Thank you, Kelly. May I call you Kelly, or should I call you Ms. Bauer? Okay, thanks,
Kelly, please.
Awesome. Ms. Berry, may I call you Patricia, or? All right.
That's
you're up.
fine. Yep.
Thank you. You're up.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Good evening, Hampton family. My name is Patricia A. Perry. I'm class of 1989, Genesis 2, and I'm running as a candidate for the Vice President of Eastern Regions for NHAA Inc. My platform includes P3 Focus, which stands for Passion, Preparation, and Performance. It reflects who I am and how I've added value to the university and to NHAA. My passions include helping leaders to drive results while using my spiritual gifts of administration to get the job done more effectively. I've been prepared for this opportunity all my life by honing skills in strategy, process excellence, change management, and resource management. I have performed and delivered results time and time again, not only professionally, but also for NHAA as well as in my personal life. During my tenure with the Richmond chapter, when serving as president, the team and I met the goal of getting the $50,000 minimum for our endowed fund established and in place. We also awarded local scholarships while building that endowment to the tune of $12,000 for the past 3 or 4 years to 12 students who currently attend Hampton. And I've partnered with admissions to work with the chapters, to work with the Richmond chapter to execute on recruitment activities in Richmond and surrounding counties. If elected, my 90-day plan would include applying this kind of an approach to the regions by doing the following. First and foremost, reviewing where we are as a current state, getting those metrics and data in hand so that we know where we're starting from. Secondly, meeting with each of the regional vice presidents to understand their perspective for their respective regions and the opportunities we have to better meet the NHAA requirements of raising funds, recruiting students, and representing the university at different events and initiatives. And then finally, facilitating an Eastern region retreat or facilitated meeting of sorts to really pull it all together to find commonality where those individual meetings with the regions, we identify where we have common interests and or passions, and then we figure out how to best prepare to execute on that, and then we position ourselves to perform. This 90-day plan will give us the momentum necessary to deliver more effectively, continue to meet the expectations, serve our alums, and also enrich what we're doing for the betterment of Hampton students. Thank you, Madam Moderator.
Thank you. So we are going to, as Derek mentioned earlier, we have 4 areas that we're going to ask questions in. The first set of questions that we're going to ask you are questions that were developed by the nominations committee. And then we'll ask a second set if we have time, right? So the very first question that I'm going to ask, and we'll go back and forth. So this first question, Kelly, we're going to ask you to answer first, and then Patricia, you'll answer second. And then the second question, we'll just go back and forth if that's okay with you both. Is that okay? All right, so
Yes.
this first question is on leadership experience. Describe a challenging leadership situation you faced in the past and how you successfully navigated it. Kelly?
I'd say one of the challenging leadership experiences has been in this role as the East VP. We have, again, in this region, there's 42 chapters, there's 4 different regions. So coordinating with your region presidents and then down to your chapter presidents. And sometimes you have region presidents who are on the front line who are experiencing their own challenges, and you have to step in and maybe take over their role and work directly with their chapters while you're allowing your region president to have that space and that time to work through what they're going through. So being able to work with the regions and the chapters, so developing those relationships with not only your region presidents, but also your chapter presidents, so that you can still get the work of the NHAA done. So again, I'd say the challenge is establishing the relationship with the 4 region presidents and the 42 chapter presidents.
Thank you. Patricia?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. So from a leadership perspective, one of the toughest challenges I've faced is really having the courage to stand up as a leader and call a thing a thing. Whether we're talking professionally, personally, at church, in the community, or even with our beloved Hampton University, Alumni Association, it comes a time where leaders really have to stand up, be courageous, and have the integrity and the character to do what's right, even if it feels hard or if it's not the popular opinion. In my experience, I've had to be that person to call a thing because I happened to be in the room when said thing happened. And I knew what we were being held to. And from an integrity and a trust perspective and really, maintaining credibility, I had to speak up. And so that would be the toughest situation I face, is really speaking up when it's unpopular, when others kind of let it slide. And you're the one who calls the thing a thing and shows some courage and says, hey, we're going to hold ourselves accountable to what we said we're about.
Thank you. Thank you both. The next question is, how do you plan to leverage your leadership skills to enhance the effectiveness and the visibility of NHAA in the Eastern region? And we'll start with you, Patricia.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. First and foremost, I think it's important that the leaders in the Eastern region know each other, because I think when you know each other as leaders, then you don't have to guess how so-and-so is going to behave in a particular situation. So I'd want to invest time in really getting to know each other on an individual level. And whether that's doing some team building or some leadership assessments to understand our various communication styles or how we interact, or even how we prefer to engage. I'd want to invest that time up front to build that relationship of trust, so that as we engage in whatever activities we're doing, we at least aren't second guessing each other, because we know who we are and we know what we're about and we know what we stand for. And then we can align around values and align around character and what NHAA is all about. Madam Moderator.
Thank you so much. Kelly.
I think increasing our visibility is a grassroots type effort. It's going to start from the bottom and work its way up with our chapters. Again, within the association, and again, in the East, there's 42 chapters from Maine all the way down to Florida. So working on the local level to increase what our chapters are doing, if it's just a chapter meeting or a chapter event or a community service type event, getting the word out that we exist. There are oftentimes you hear people say, is there a chapter in my area? And there's been, here I'm in the DC metro area, there's 6 chapters within a 20-mile radius of each other. So increasing the knowledge that our chapters exist, and then you work your way up throughout the organization. So it's a grassroots effort, in my opinion.
Great. Right. So the final question in this particular category of leadership experience is, share your experience in leading successful chapter development initiatives or alumni recruitment efforts in the past and how you would apply these experiences in this role? And we'll start with you, Kelly.
So the chapter development has been the main focus of what Kat and I, Kat is the West VP, we're a partnership, have been doing during this term. We've started with asking the chapters what it is they need and identifying those training opportunities. And that's how the Parliamentary Procedures Workshop was created, and how the Fiscal Management Workshop was also created. We're now looking at other opportunities to say, if we develop our chapters and develop our leadership within those chapters, then your membership will increase because people will come to a well-run organization. So looking at all of the different positions, what the training is needed for those positions, who should be doing the training, and how you get people to want to be in leadership positions, has been that main focus in chapter development. When that comes together, the alumni recruitment piece will be a bit easier. Madam Moderator.
Thank you, Kelly. Patricia.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. So first I'll speak to experience as president of the Richmond chapter, then I'll speak to some of the things I've done since being in the regional role currently. So for the Richmond chapter, Richmond has been a strong chapter for years. So as president, what I really focused on was, what is it that people are interested in? Where people are going to show up? Because we were having events, having activities, but the level of engagement and the attendance wasn't what it needed to be. So we basically took a survey and said, hey guys, what do you want to do? And so we built our calendar off of that. And then from there, we could get folks to volunteer to lead said thing, because at the time, much of the executive team were doing all the work. And having 5 to 7 people do all the work doesn't feel like a whole lot of fun, and folks get burnt out. So the first thing we did was identify what are folks interested in, then tap some of those people to lead it, which helped increase the engagement. From a regional perspective, what I've done is really reached out to the chapter leaders in Southampton and Hampton and other chapters to find out, where do you need help and how can I help connect you with other chapters who are doing what you want to do, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel and you can kind of leverage best practices to get it done. So those are the 2 things that I think come to mind most readily for chapter development. Madam Moderator.
Thank you so much. Thanks, both of you. We're going to move on to the next category, which is really the NHAA membership growth. So we'll start with you, Patricia. What strategies would you implement to attract and retain members, especially younger alumni from the Eastern region?
I really like that question because we all know that chapter membership and alumni engagement is a vital component for the viability of NHAA. As you all know, we exist to recruit students, to raise money, and to represent the university. So 3 things that I would look to do, first and foremost, is we need to be transparent about what this opportunity is and why it matters and why we need all alums engaged, not just young alums, but all generations connecting across. So 3 steps that I would take. One is to share what's the value proposition. So often we get asked, why should I pay X amount of money to join an organization and I'm already an alum? So I think we need to be transparent about what it is, why it matters, and why their membership makes a difference for NHAA and how they can actively be engaged. The second thing I would do is highlight member impact. How have members driven impact at the chapter level to help us excel in what NHAA expects? And then finally, celebrate results. Identify what those metrics are, hit those milestones, and then celebrate that we've hit them. Madam Moderator.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Patricia. Kelly, please.
When
Same
I was
question.
president, thank you. When I was the president of the Northern Virginia chapter, we had one of the largest contingent of young alumni within the association. And I was able to attract them because I allowed them to do what they do and then teach me how to do it. For example, when I was elected president, a young alum came and said she couldn't find us on Twitter. And I said, well, we're not on Twitter. And she said, well, that's how the young people communicate. So I asked her to become my social media manager and then teach me how to use Twitter. That's not in my wheelhouse. So letting the young alum do what they do, asking them what they want. They wanted to participate in more community service type events and do student recruitment. That's what we allowed them to do. And they came and they increased their numbers and they brought another young alum with them. So engaging the young alum, asking them, how can we help you and how can we serve you, is how you attract them to the association. On the national level, since I've been on the national level, working, I have to go back to that chapter development question you asked earlier. When you have a chapter and an organization that runs well, your alum will come. They will want to be part of the membership, and they want to be part of an organization where they feel like we're effective, we're efficient, we're getting things done, and we're not wasting anyone's time. So again, when you have a well-run organization, your alumni will come, your young alumni will come, and let them do what they do and then teach it to you, Madam Moderator.
Thank you so much. The second question in this particular category, we're going to start with you, Kelly. And that is, how would you assess and address the specific needs and interests of different alumni demographics to foster a more inclusive and engaging NHAA community? I know that you've started to answer some of that. Both of you have answered some of it in your questions so far, but if you could be very explicit in this one, that would be great.
I think, what I found in my professional life is learning how to communicate generationally. The emeritus class members are I need to touch you and reach out to you and talk to you face to face and pick up the phone. You have more of your millennials and your Gen Zs who want a text message or something quick and fast, where they don't necessarily have to have a lot of interpersonal conversations with you and interaction. So meeting each generation where they are and learning how to communicate with them, for lack of a better way to say it, different strokes for different folks, but understanding how to talk to and communicate, and then asking them, what is it that they want? And do you want me to communicate this way? I have some seasoned alum who say, I want to be on that email, I want to get online and do this, or some that say, it's time for me to pay the dues, I need to write you a check and mail it to you, or can I drop it off? So understanding the generational ways that you need to communicate is the best way to reach our different levels of alumni.
Thank you, Kelly. Patricia, same question.
Madam Moderator, thank you. So I think the first and foremost, we need to understand what someone's need is. Before I can engage as an alum, maybe there's some issue that I need solving, right? And so I think that as an NHAA, we can help to solve that. So as an example, if I'm a young alum, I just graduated, and you're hounding me about joining a chapter, and I need a job, or I'm on a new job and I don't know how to dress, or don't know what to say, or don't have those connections, or feel isolated, we can step in as an alumni and really connect, help make those connections and help share our experience and mentor and coach young alums, so that you solve the need first, and then we can get to the higher order piece about, hey, we could really use your talents and skills in this way. And then that may be an opportunity where, whether it's a young alum or a seasoned alum, where they have an opportunity to give back to NHAA, and it fulfills a satisfaction need in terms of their professional life. Maybe you're not getting opportunities on your job. Well, if you come and work for NHAA and you do X, Y, Z, then you can put that on your portfolio as a professional, and that helps you get prepared for the next role in your career. Madam Moderator.
Thank you both so much. We're going to move to the fund development category, and these next couple of questions are going to be in that space. Patricia, we'll start with you. And that is, what innovative fundraising initiatives would you propose to support the financial goals of NHAA in the Eastern region?
Madam Moderator, thank you for that question. So I don't know how innovative it is, but here's what I do know. As an NHAA, we have several different galas that occur across the various regions. And each of them have done an exceptional job, not only meeting that gala expectation need, but minimizing the expenses, maximizing donations, and establishing new partnerships. So I think we can take that and level it up a bit. We can document those best practices for how you do a gala, so that as others are looking to do one, they're not starting from scratch. But then we can also kind of compare and contrast what's worked and what hasn't, and build that playbook so that we can partner with the university and the officials there who are responsible for fund development to figure out how we can be specific and targeted in how NHAA can support the university's fund goals. Madam Moderator, thank you for the question.
Thank you. Kelly, same question.
I think it's important to first say that from the standpoint of the major components of this role, fundraising is not one of them. We're focused on alumni recruitment and chapter development. However, having been both a region president and a chapter president, I can say that working with our chapters to try to figure out what is the need of each chapter in each region. So you said, how would we leverage, fundraising and innovative ideas throughout the East? The East is not a one-size-fits-all type of area. What will work in Northern Virginia may not work in Tallahassee. So understanding what would work from a fundraising perspective in each different area, each region within the East, and say, one might do, the popcorn fundraiser. And here in Northern Virginia on Saturday, we just had our huge scholarship gala that we've been doing for 40 years. So understanding the needs of each region and each territory within their region is first how you're going to come up with an innovative fundraising strategy. Thank you.
Awesome. So we'll start with this next question, and that is, could you share an experience where you played a key role in a successful fundraising campaign? What were the critical factors that led to its success? And we'll start with you, Kelly.
I want to go back to when I was the president at Northern Virginia chapter for our 35th anniversary. Yes, we did a gala, but it was definitely on a much larger scale. I believe the final head count that attended our gala was right around 700 people that we were able to attract. And that came from asking our chapter members, what do we want to do different? So for the 35th anniversary, we did a 35 for 35 awards where we focused on spotlighting 35 alum in the Northern Virginia area for their contributions in the community or the arts or the sciences and featuring them. And that helped bring out more people than just saying, we're having a Northern Virginia gala, but we're having a, Tom Gunn is being spotlighted for his work in the community as a Hampton alum. 10 people want to go see Tom Gunn get this award. So finding a different way, a different twist to put on this gala brought out a large contingent, and a lot of those people also paid their dues. So it definitely increased our membership. Thank you, Madam Moderator.
Thank you. Patricia, same question.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. So I'll highlight two examples of when I was president of the Richmond chapter. And the first one I'll point to is the chapter had an endowed fund, but we had not met the minimum for that particular fund. So we needed to raise more than $25,000, which sounds like a whole lot of money. So as a chapter president, in partnership with fundraising chair, what we did was basically raise awareness about the need. And then I and others personally made phone calls and reached out and did that personal touch to alums who may not necessarily be a member, may not have necessarily been coming to meetings, but we knew they were passionate about Hampton and that they would be willing to help support this initiative. So that proved successful and we met that goal. The other that I'll point to is that we've over the years done a car raffle, which cost us no money, but we had basically sold the minimums, right? And just benefited however we benefited. So we wanted to give out more local scholarships. So this particular year, we basically took on double the amount of raffle tickets, which doubled our profit, which engaged more people because we kind of said, hey guys, we need help. And so we were reaching out, touching whoever wanted to help. And in the end, we sold the tickets that we needed to sell, which really positioned us to give away more scholarships and preserved more of our operating account for those things that weren't scholarship focused. Madam Moderator.
Great. Thank you both. Thank you both. The final category that we have questions in are strategic visioning. And while I realize that there are a lot of these questions may not be directly tied to the specifics of the role, you will be participating in helping to support the other leaders. And so answer it from that perspective, if you wouldn't mind. So the first question in this particular category is, how do you envision the future of NHAA in the Eastern region? And what strategic plan would you implement to realize this vision? And we'll start with you, Patricia.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. So I think, we all know that we have a strategic plan as a university. We all know that NHAA exists to raise money, to recruit students, and to represent the university at events and initiatives. So our strategic plan has to be aligned to the university and what the university needs. So in my opinion, NHAA alone can't go off and do a strategy. But once we understand the university strategy, then we identify where it is that we want to plug in and then figure out what our focus areas are. So I think that's the NHAA board coming together to understand where we are, get input from the various regions and or chapters so we know what people are passionate about, and then document what that looks like and be clear about who's going to take on what role in order to get it done. Well, that's just part of it, because to me, once you have a strategy, then you also need to have a way to measure it, because we all know what gets measured gets done. And if we have a strategy, we have no measurements and no milestones and no way to celebrate, either we're not going to hit the goal, or some are going to hit the goal, or some are going to just drop off and not be interested. So I think that the board coming together to identify those sweet spots, if you will, of where we can supplement and augment the university strategy is a place to start. And then, of course, having those metrics and be clear on roles and responsibilities and how we deliver on said strategy. Madam Moderator.
Thank you so much. Kelly, same question, please.
I think with any strategic plan, the first thing that we need to do is a needs analysis. We need to sit back and say, you know, are we still currently in our current state serving the needs of our alumni? You know, do our current chapters, are we set up in a way where they're not allowed to operate? Are we hindering them? Ideally, strategically, I think about President Williams and his plan to create the #1 student experience in America. I would like to continue that and create the #1 alumni experience in America. I'm not sure if that should start with the alumni, where they have the first touch with those prospective students who then get the #1 student experience because they met the #1 alumni, and then they transition back into, after graduation, to become part of the #1 alumni experience in America. But strategically, that's going to go back to creating programs. Is it something for the alumni? Is it something around student recruitment? Is it something around, back to my ideas about, you know, chapter development with protocol and fiscal procedures, and something with the historian, but going back to what our purpose is, and are we still currently serving that purpose by doing that needs analysis? Madam Moderator.
Thank you so much. All right, in the context of strategic development, how would you ensure the initiatives of the Eastern region align with the overall mission and objectives of NHAA? Both of you have already spoke to some of this, but I think if you could be a little bit more specific about how you see this in terms of the integration of what the Eastern region has to do in order to be aligned holistically, that would be great. And we'll start with you, Kelly.
Okay. Oh, thank you. I wasn't sure I lost count where we were. I think the beauty of the Eastern region and the NHA, how we set up, is that we're all going to be successful when our chapters are successful. And so working with our chapters to say, this is what the plan is for the NHAA, we go back from the bottom and work our way up. You know, President Willie Williams had us all do work plans at the beginning of the term. And are we still meeting the needs of what's in that plan? Does it need to be adjusted? And does it need to be adjusted to fit our chapters? That's, again, that grassroots approach. You start from the bottom and you work your way up to ensure that they have their needs so that they're able to fulfill the strategic plan and the purpose of the NHAA. Thank you, Madam Moderator.
Thank you. Patricia, same question, please.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. While I can certainly appreciate, grassroots efforts and work plans and all of that, I think, to really be intentional about where there's alignment is we take those plans and create a matrix. And so the matrix really looks at what are the 10 things we're going to do, and then across the top, how it specifically aligns to what NHAA is trying to achieve and or what we want to contribute to the university strategy. By doing a matrix, then you can see a way that, this action does or does not, or maybe this one fits 2 out of 3 and the other ones fit 3 out of 3. But then you can sort of use that matrix to prioritize, because we all know that NHAA does not have deep pockets and we don't have a money tree out back. So if we don't have deep pockets and a money tree out back, then we may need to be selective and intentional about what actions we take on and to what degree we take on that action. So I think an alignment matrix with actions down the left-hand side and alignment factors across the top will help us get at how we can differentiate and be strategic about where we invest our time and or our efforts. Madam Moderator.
Thank you so much. And Kelly, same question.
Oh, I thought I started.
I'm sorry. You're right. You're right. Sorry. You're right. You're right. All right. I'm pushing. So we are really about 2/3 of the way through. And this is the final question that I have from the nominating committee. And then there are a couple more questions that I want to ask you. So if you could bear with me, we're almost there, right? So the final question here is, how do you plan to effectively collaborate with the chapter and regional presidents to address key issues and contribute to strategic development in the NHAA Inc. within your designated Eastern region? Now, both of you have already commented a lot throughout the answering of your questions on how some of this would be done, but if you could be very focused and specific as it relates to this particular piece, that would be really great. And so we will start with you, Patricia.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. So I'd like to first start with engaging with the 4 different regional leaders to really get to know each other. Who are we? What are we trying to do? What's our passion? What drives us? And, back to what I said earlier, how do we communicate? How do we like to interact? From there, I'd like to then spend time in the different regions. Certainly, I can't get around to every chapter, but I think it's important that I be visible in this role if elected, to get to know what chapters are all about. And in doing so, over time, we'll all get to know each other and be able to feel comfortable picking up the phone and asking a question so that things don't go into a black hole and there's not communication going on. But then I also think that starting out this way, getting to know each other, building that trust, sets us up to celebrate collectively, whether that's virtual or in person. And it may even inspire us to want to meet more frequently than what is required, so that now we're spending our discretionary time working on the thing that we love so that we can all be excellent in what we do. Madam Moderator.
Thank you. Kelly, same question, please.
So we're actually already doing this currently. We've established a region presidents roundtable where we meet quarterly. We have a chapter presidents roundtable that meets twice a year. This is something new that has been put in place in the current administration. I also want to be clear that while this position is the vice president for the East, it's very much a collaborative position with the West. And we have built a relationship and a partnership where we don't differentiate between East and West. So we're one group, one team. There's 2 vice presidents, there's 6 regions, we all function as one. And that's how you're going to determine how you get your regions together, how you get your chapters together, where everyone is focused on doing the same thing. If, for example, one region president might need to step away for a while, another region president can jump in and help out because we've already been working as one team. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you both. We just have a couple more questions, and so I'm going to go back to leadership experience in this round, the second round. And so we have one question that we'll ask each of you that's a separate question, and then we have a common question, and then we have one more for strategic visioning. All right, so in this leadership experience, Kelly, we're going to start with you. Describe specific upgrades mentioned in your strategic vision for training opportunities for officers and revision of the standard operating policies manual will benefit the Eastern region. So I'll ask that one more time.
Okay, I was going to say, can you please repeat that?
No problem. No problem. Sorry about that. All right. Describe the specific upgrades that you mentioned in your strategic vision for training opportunities for officers and the revision of the standard operating policy manual that will benefit the Eastern region. This this is a question that was specifically from the materials that you've posted online.
Okay, so specific examples of these upgrades. We currently, as a team, the region VPs are all VPs and region presidents are working on a deep dive of the standard operating procedure manual. We found that it may have a large overview of a specific topic, but there are not really details on how to make it happen. For example, the onboarding of a new chapter. So what specific details would a group interested in forming a chapter, what specific steps need to be taken when they're thinking about forming a chapter, to writing the plan for their chapter, to being approved for the chapter, to the next steps once you're approved as a chapter. Having that level of detail specifically spelled out for them is one example of not necessarily a training activity, but this is the standard operating procedure for onboarding and bringing on a new chapter. We're also looking at all our bylaws to ensure that the region, the chapter, and the national bylaws are all aligned, which currently they are not. And we're also looking at other types of training. We'll do parliamentary procedure training every year. We'll do fiscal officers training every year, and more training for our chapter presidents to ensure that they fully understand our SOPs and our bylaws and the other policies and procedures of the NHAA. Madam Moderator.
Thank you so much. Patricia, we have a different question for you, and that is, can you describe your strategy to implement your 3 Ps, passion, preparation, and performance, that will enhance the Eastern region?
Absolutely. Thank you, Madam Moderator. So the strategy really is about doing that upfront, that diagnosis, if you will. So I'm putting on my professional hat. So doing a diagnosis to understand what an individual chapter leader or region leader's passion might be, because I firmly believe that if we operate in our passions, then it's easier for us to get said thing done. The second part of that is, once we know what a person's passion is as it relates to what they've got to deliver on for that chapter, then the question is, are you prepared to do it? Do you have the resources and tools that you need to get it done? That's just a question that, that leader can answer, and then we can point them to the right resource, whether that's something digital, online, or we're partnering them up with someone, another leader in another chapter who's done it before and can coach them through it so they don't feel like they're alone. From a performance perspective, it's really about measuring what we said we were going to do. If we say we're going to increase membership by 10 people, then that's our stake in the ground. Now, did we do it? Did we say we're going to get it done over the fiscal year? Okay, then we have a year to get it done. But if we said we're going to get it done in 6 months, what's that deadline and how close are we to that deadline? So, Madam Moderator, that will be my approach for getting that implemented on an individual chapter and or region level, specific to what their passions are, starting with that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you both. So this final question in the leadership experience area is for both of you. And that is, how would you approach identifying and addressing challenges faced by different chapters and regions? And what proactive measures would you take to support their growth and sustainability? Patricia, we're going to start with you.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. So I'm going to put on my professional hat for a moment. And so really, I think, I feel like I'm repeating myself, but it comes back to understanding what the issue is, and then figuring out, is this something that's a, issue where they didn't know and we need to train them and make them more aware? Is this an issue where something was blatantly disregarded, and then that's a coaching situation? And so I treat it like that, as though I were coaching someone on one of my teams. It's understanding what the issue is, then doing that diagnosis to figure out, did you know what you did, or did you so figure out what it is, and then we know how to address whatever that solution is. Realizing that this is a volunteer organization and you can't coach people the way you coach them in your job, right? But I think it's from that spirit of, we're on the same team, we're all aiming for the same goals, we're doing this for the love of our university and for the benefit of NHAA, and I'm doing this out of a place of I want to help, not I'm trying to harm or hurt you or your chapter. And so that would be my approach to that, Madam Moderator.
Thank you so much. Kelly, same question, please.
I think you have to start with your region presidents, because the organizational structure is going to be chapter presidents, follow up to region presidents, then follow up into this VP level. So working with those region presidents to let you know what those issues are, to help identify those problems, and then work with them to help them help their chapters find out what are the organizational issues that they're having. Is it the application and interpretation of their bylaws? Is it something that we need to pull in someone else? Is it the parliamentarian that needs to come help out? But you definitely have to go through the organizational structure, starting with, if there's an issue with the chapters, my role is to go to the region presidents and then assist them where they're not able to help identify the problems or solve the issues. So definitely following our organizational structure.
Great. Thank you both. And this is the final question of the evening before you give your 2-minute close, right? And that is on strategic visioning. How do you plan to foster strong communication and collaboration among the various chapters and regions to ensure cohesive and unified approaches to alumni engagement? I recognize that you both have said a lot. You've introduced a lot of ideas as you've answered other questions. If you could focus specifically on the fostering communications and collaborations specifically for this purpose, that would be great. This gives you another shot, another bite at the apple, so to speak. And we'll start with you, Kelly.
I don't think there's a one-size-fit-all method of communication. Do we need to use social media? Do we need to use direct mail? Do we need to pick up the phone and call people? Do we need to talk to people face to face? So understanding all the different methods of communication that we can use to get a better understanding of how our organization works and what we're doing, and to get the word out to our constituents, our alumni, about what the NHAA is working on, what we're focused on, and how we need their help to meet their needs. Definitely, again, you have to go start at that chapter level because they have the most immediate touch. They have the members in their chapter and the members in their area that they can reach. But again, understanding all the different methods of communication that we have out there available to us. One thing I did when I was region president, I made it a point to visit all of my chapters at least once every year, so that I had that personal touch to meet with the chapter presidents, to meet with the alumni, to meet with all that members. And so I myself went out into the community to meet our alumni and communicate with them and make sure they had me as a resource if they couldn't go within their chapters.
Thank you. Patricia? Same
Thank you, Madam
question.
Moderator. So for me, I think it starts first with developing that relationship with the regional leaders, because they're the ones who oftentimes might be disseminating information from the national level to the chapter level. And if they don't have the information, then they're at a disadvantage in terms of disseminating information. So I think starting with that personal relationship, so we all get to know each other, but then depending upon the content, the timing, and the urgency, I think that determines what medium you might use to get the message out there. If it's something where we've got a longer lead time, then maybe we can put together a full-blown campaign that covers all these different mediums because we have the time to do it. If we have an urgent need, though, that's where I think, you got to get on the phone or, do the blast email, then follow up with a phone call to make certain that people understand, because communicating is not just the one way we put it out there, but I think we have to check for understanding. If we're expecting people to engage and take action, we have to have a mechanism to check for understanding. And whether that's a follow-up phone call or at the next meeting, you kind of just do a temperature pulse of the room to make sure that folks have what they need. But for me, it's starting with those region leaders, because they are oftentimes the ones disseminating information to the chapter leaders, who then disseminate that information to their members. Madam Moderator.
Thank you both. You've both been incredibly both participatory and excellent in answering the questions, and your thoughts and all of the ideas that you've shared with us has been great. Thank you so much for all of the effort that you've put into this. As a member of the class of 1985, I am very proud of both of you. I'd like to give you a few minutes. You both have 2 minutes for your closing remarks. So if you could take a few minutes to just share your last thoughts that you'd like to leave with the audience. We have right now 56 people that are online. So if you take a few minutes to actually just share your final remarks, and we'll start with you, Patricia.
Thank you. First and foremost, I'd like to say thanks to everyone, all 56 of you, for investing time to hear our respective perspectives. You've heard me talk about being P3 focused, passion, preparation, and performance, and I've shared some of that over the course of our time together this evening. For me, that approach didn't just begin yesterday or when I decided to run for this particular opportunity. My parents instilled that in me and my siblings as we were growing up. So we were each individually encouraged to discover our unique passion. We were then kind of challenged to prepare for whatever it was. And then we were expected to lean in and perform, so then our parents would celebrate all that we've accomplished. So for me, that continued as I came to Hampton, and now committed to lifelong learning, standard of excellence, and a heart to serve. And that's driven me in a successful career. Beyond success at this point, I want to embrace significance. I've retired from my career. I've done a bunch of different things. And now I want to take my spiritual gifts and how I've added value in corporations and take my time, talent, and treasure and make a greater difference for our home by the sea. For me, I welcome the opportunity to serve as VP of Eastern Region if so elected, and I will partner with NHAA leaders to make sure that we continue to deliver with excellence and do it in such a way that we meet those expectations. I'd encourage us all to renew our commitment in adding value to the university that we love. So figure out how you can uniquely increase the funds, recruit students, and represent Hampton as only you can, and do it in such a way that we all will know that you let your life do the singing and you've got a renewed sense of purpose in doing so. Madam Moderator.
Thank you so much. Kelly, final remarks.
Thank you. The purpose of the NHAA is to raise funds for Hampton University, recruit students to attend the university, and collaborate with university personnel to develop and implement programs that will benefit both. My role as East VP is to provide the organizational support and experienced leaders to help ensure our 42 chapters and 4 regions in the East deliver on that purpose. I have been a member of 3 alumni chapters: Montgomery, Alabama, Richmond, Virginia, and Northern Virginia, which I consider my forever alumni home. During my tenure, I currently serve as a class leader and held elected chapter office, including that of chapter president. At the region level, I served 2 terms as the first vice president and 2 terms as the Mid-Atlantic region president. These experiences have been invaluable in preparing me for the role of vice president East Regions. The chapters and regions that I serve have provided me with a deep understanding of the NHAA's operations, including its bylaws and fiscal management requirements. In this role, relationships from local chapters to region and even university levels are key. It's through this understanding that I've been able to perform the job of the East VP. Although this is a national position, it does not offer high visibility. The East VP role is about capacity, infrastructure, and support. It is not well known outside the NHAA and is not an individual contributor. I am proud of the strong partnership between the East and West VPs and the one-team culture we maintain. The synergy that exists with the region presidents is new, and I am excited to continue the journey that we started in 2022. It is my hope that you, my fellow alumni, allow me to continue building what we started and allow me to remain working to fulfill our purpose. Madam Moderator.
Thank you both so much for taking time out of your schedule and for stepping up to lead. Really do appreciate this. I'm going to turn it over to Derek Lowry, the leader of this committee.
Thank you, Lisa. To our candidates, Kelly and Patricia, thank you so much. We really appreciate this. I also want to acknowledge members of this team, Audrey D. Jones, Keisha Mark. Keisha came a little later, but we've been working diligently, each of us on here, and we thank you so much. To the rest of you guys, I do have another set of presentations to give you for information. Let me share my screen for the voting process. One moment here. Oops, share screen. Share to. Slash. Okay, take this away. All right. Many of you have already received your ballot. ballots, election open up on Monday, May 4th, and it will close on Monday, April the 1st at 11:59 p.m. Currently, there are frequently asked questions. You'll find them at the bottom of the candidates' profiles. If you just click on that link or go to that link and then scroll to the bottom, you'll find that. All eligible voters were sent voter notification if you're the class year of 63 or older, and with the option to receive a paper ballot. Paper ballots have not yet started to come in, but I suspect that will happen soon. For those individuals who have received that notice and elect to vote by electronics, they can do that also. But you can only vote one way. Once your ballot is cast for your particular ID and in code, that ballot is then closed out. All the class year 64, that was a typo, my apologies. I was thinking about something else. 64 or younger will only receive email notifications and will vote electronically. If there's no email on file for the voter file that was transmitted, that individual voting process will be handled by the class of 63. Also, there was a reminder that was sent out today at 9 o'clock. You will get one of those once a week. If you have not yet voted, you will see that coming to you to say, basically, please cast a vote. If you already voted, you should not receive that. If you have any questions, I suggest that you address that through reading the frequently asked questions or sending me an email. I just unmuted everyone, I believe. So as it relates to voting, I'll entertain a few key questions because we're at the end, but if there are any key questions that someone has about voting, I'll entertain that now. And I need to minimize my screen so I can see the list. There's a question in the chat, I believe. Let's see here. Okay. All right, hearing no questions. And by the way, my other colleague, her name is Audra, not Audrey. Thank you, Audra. I'll get it right before you beat me up too bad. Hearing no other questions at this time, I want to thank the candidates. I'm going to applaud you, appreciate it very much, and wish you guys well. And to the rest of the group, please. Oh, by the way, Mr. President is on. Did you have any parting words?
No, thank you, Derek, in the committee, and thank you, candidates. A great job by all.
All right. Well, thanks, everyone. And also, I want to give thanks to Victoria and Raquel, who helped, were not part of the committee, but helped tremendously in other areas for me. And Victoria will take the recording and get that posted on the NHAA website so that others can view it. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.